Hey friends, welcome to day 53 of the 90-day video challenge, brought to you by Broken to Beautifully Blended, stepping into 2020 on the right foot. I think I got all the words that time.
Such an awesome job.
I went back and I watched last night's that I felt so good about, but I said the 90-day prayer challenge.
Got a video challenge, yeah.
I tell you, getting this right every time is hard. You know, those people on TV make it look easy.
Yeah.
But they're like us. They get lots of takes. And typically they have several people watching them over there, you know, watching out what they're saying and sort of coordinating the whole thing. So,
And talking in their ear.
yep. I'm telling you, TV is a magical world behind the camera or to the side of what you see or all of the things that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, it is.
I should know.
I've been to a
That's what I do.
TV station too.
I know. I'm not saying that you haven't, but I'm just saying I should know because that's what I do. So anyway, today was a good day. It was a relaxing day for the most part. Got to sleep in a skosh this morning. Got to watch the Cowboys have a nice victory today over West Virginia. Was sort of up in the air for a while. It looked pretty weak, and they ended up pulling it out in the end. So, you know, good for them. Next week is Bedlam, though. So that's the big one. It's the fun rivalry game, in-state rivalry. So that'll be fun.
It will.
You
always-
you hate football.
I don't hate football. It's just that'll be the week of trash talk in our state. On Thanksgiving week. Every year.
Well, some years they've the last couple of years they've sort of moved it around because for a long time OSU and OU were playing for the championship of the Big 12, and it was going to the last week of the season, and then they were instituting a championship game again, and they thought, well, we don't want to keep it there because if they're both, there's an opportunity that we would have to play 2 weeks in a row.
Back to back, yeah.
So, anyway, I'm sure that's a long, convoluted story, and that's my take on it, no matter what anybody else says. So, anyway. All right, today is also day 18 in our Draw the Circle Prayer Challenge. Keep circling.
Yep.
From Joshua, from the book of Joshua. On the seventh day, march around the city 7 times. Joshua 6:4. So, story, in case you're not aware, the Israelites crossed the Jordan River, and the first battle they had to face in the Promised Land was the city of Jericho. City of Jericho was a fortified city, had big walls, and so the Israelites weren't real sure how this was going to go. But God spoke to Joshua, the leader at the time. He had just replaced Moses as the leader of the Israelites. He said, take them in, put them in this order, march around the city once a day for 6 days. On the 7th day, put your men in the same order, march around the city 7 times, and then when I give the command, you're going to blow the horn, and the walls will come down.
You're going to let out a great shout too, right?
Yeah.
I want to add that just before they did this, the most recent reference to them in the Bible is the grumbling Israelites. They weren't just the Israelites, they were the grumbling. So that's who you had to lead on this wild goose chase around a wall.
So that's what they did. And the interesting thing is, God told Joshua assembled the Israelites. He didn't tell them all of the details. He just said, this is what we're going to do. So, you know, within that, there's a lesson as well. Sometimes you don't need to tell the whole world your plans. You just need to tell them what they need to know.
You may end up like Joseph.
Yeah. Joseph told the world his whole plans before it was time, and his brothers sold him into slavery. So, the first story in today's lesson was about the Telecommunications Act of ended up being of 1996, but in 1994, as they were working through it, there was a man that's named Tony And he was going to go to all 435 House offices in order to help secure the scrambling of pornography against right next to the channels that children could watch.
Cartoons and whatnot.
Yeah, before that, they were just sort of mixed in together, and then the Telecommunications Bill of 1996 altered that ultimately. But I was going to look up and try and get some of the information from the Telecommunications Act, but it's like 335 pages, and I didn't really feel like I had time to do that actual justice as we talked about it. So I'm going to talk about it in broad terms. Anyway, back to the story. Tony was told there was no way that the chairman of the Congressional Committee was going to reopen the bill. It was ready to go. They were going to send it to the floor and vote, and everything was done. And so Tony had gone to 220 of the 435 congressional offices. He walked out of that 220th office and was completely dejected. Have you been there?
Yeah.
Been to a point where, you've done what you think you can do, or not even that so much, but you have gone into something and you've just met obstacle after obstacle, no after no.
And it gets to where you've done all you want to do. You don't want to do this anymore. This is hard. It's no fun.
It's not going the way rejection. That I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a very natural human emotion. Mm-hmm. I mean, nobody likes to be told no over and over and over again. And so you begin to question, is this really what I was supposed to be doing? Mm-hmm. For Tony, he says he sat down on a windowsill in the building, and he said he felt that the Spirit of God came across him and said, "Who's doing this, you or me?" And Tony answered, "Well, you are, Lord." And so he said he was able to get up at that point and continue his battle with more fervency, more Spirit-led communication, and with more energy than he had started the first 220. And it goes through, and it tells us about the ending. Tony says, "I'm not exaggerating when I tell you this. As my leg crossed the threshold, as I exited the 435th office, my pager went off." Now that ought to tell you something. So he had to find a phone and call, but the chairman had agreed to allow his amendment be added to the telecommunications bill. And so as Tony completed the assignment that he had, he got a result. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that every time you complete what it is that God's given to you, He's going to give you your way. That's not the point. But you will get an answer when you complete what God's given you to do. It says in the lesson as well that God stretches our faith and builds our character. God stretches our faith and builds our character. Remember when God told Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac? When God intervened and provided a ram in the thicket, the intervention didn't take place until Abraham had put Isaac on the altar, tied him down, and raised the knife. God pushed Abraham to the precipice of logic. I can honestly say I don't know that I've ever been at the point of precipice of logic. Now, there are some things that I'm praying about right now that are potentially pretty close to that. Where God's stirring within your spirit to do something that you can clearly see doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm. And you can't see the next step. You don't have any idea. And that's where He's waiting. And if it's not this time, He'll give you that opportunity again. It's a lesson that you'll continue to be given until you push through.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't really like the feeling. It's not an easy feeling to be in. It's not a place where you go, well, this is just fun. When you believe that God's calling you to do something, but you're not real sure what it looks like. You're not real sure what the effect will be long term. My nature has always been, know where your next meal is, know where your next paycheck is, know where your next whatever is. I mean, I'm a sort of a control freak when it comes to stuff like that. I think God is changing that part of me. I would say I'm less controlling now. I don't know that anybody else would, but at least within my spirit, I'm certainly believing that to be the case. So, she's being quiet because she's like, yeah, you're pretty controlling.
I don't know. Was that controlling?
He talks about the counterfactual theory, which basically questions what if. What if the Israelites had stopped circling Jericho on day 6? What if Elijah had quit praying for rain after his 6th request? What if Naaman had only dipped in the river 6 times? And what if, while we're on the subject, Tony had quit his door-to-door campaign after the 220th office?
Those are a lot of what ifs.
We would forfeit what? I mean, we would forfeit the miracles.
The miracle.
So.
Yeah. Well, and I truly believe, I've heard it said before, and I believe that God will either show you the mountaintop and not the steps, or he'll show you the steps and not the mountaintop. And both of those take a level of faith that requires you to listen to his voice. And so if he's showing you the mountaintop, and you have to get discernment for every single step. Is this the step that you want me to take? Is this the step that you want me to take? And you wait and you listen, you obey. But then on the other side of it, I mean, he gave Joshua all 7 days. Like, you go circle it 1 time for 6 days, and on the 7th day, circle it 7 times. Do all of these things. And so he gave him the steps, but he had no idea how it was actually going to happen. And so he had to have the faith to trust and just take the next step.
Well, and let's be clear. I'm fairly certain that people in those times are not different than we are now.
No.
And so when Joshua took the men to battle and they marched around the city and they went back,
mm-hmm.
I'm sure there were some questions. I'm sure there were some people going, what did we just do? When they did it the second day, those questions had to continue to grow. And when they did it the third day, there was some people that were beginning to be dissenting. And I can imagine all the way up to that 7th day when they showed up, that there was still enough people going, this guy has lost his mind. Those people inside must be just laughing at us.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they were laughing. And that's part of the deal. But Joshua was steadfast in what God had called him to do.
Yeah, and I like, whenever I thought about it, there is the wall came down, and you think about it, it's not something that they had to do anything with. It says the wall came down and they went in. And so it was just, to me, their yell created like an implosion. Mm-hmm. And all of their defenses were down. And now, who's laughing? Who's going, wow, this is amazing?
And something I've often thought about, and I've never really heard a whole lot on it, but if you remember the story, so Rahab the prostitute was there, that she hid the men.
Yeah.
If you read that, it says in the Bible that her house was in the wall.
Yeah.
That's how she let them out through a window that was in the wall. And her house, so it's not like we're talking about a wall. It was a wall, like thick.
Yeah.
So, and it fell flat.
Yep.
Crazy. So, the thought for the day, if you don't get out of the boat, you'll never walk on water. So, keep circling. Be willing to take action and see what God does.
I would say it a different way. If you don't get into your quiet time in the morning, you'll never walk on the Word.
Word. And that, what the kids say.
I don't think kids have said that for a while. Oh my
All
goodness.
right. So it is still the 23rd. So we did our thankfulness last night. It was after midnight, so my watch said 23rd. So I said, hey, it's right there. Anyway, long story short, it's still the 23rd. So thankfulness. Today, let's see. I'm thankful for football Saturdays. If there's one thing that I really enjoy doing, it is kicking back and watching football with family and friends. We can watch basketball, or we can watch, I don't know, we don't really watch baseball. We can watch a lot of other sports, and it's not that exciting to me, but watching football with friends and family is one of my pleasures in this life, and I'm thankful that we were able to do that today.
I'm thankful for Saturdays whenever he's able to let down his hair and cheer.
Yeah, because when I work the games, I have to be quiet. Touchdown, so. But it's good. And way to cheat on your thankfulness today.
I didn't cheat. I am thankful that you get to have those Saturdays.
You stole my answer.
I did not.
Whatever. So anyway, all right, guys. Tomorrow we will be back, day 54. We're off tomorrow on the Draw the Circle Challenge. So get caught up if you got behind this week. We'll be talking tomorrow about church or whatever exciting events happen tomorrow. Hopefully I get out and run tomorrow.
And so, I would say, are you guys praying about your word? Have you received a word yet?
For 2020.
2020.
Yep. So, tomorrow, day 54. I think there was a club once called that, Club 54.
I think so.
Something like that. Anyway, irrelevant. Have a great night. We'll see you guys tomorrow.